post-emancipation of African people here in North America, those who didn't flee immediately to the north fled to the swamps and the deltas to hunt a subsistence lifestyle away from the fear, the brutality, the rape, and the viciousness of colonial chattel slavery. In those spaces, you see hunting traditions, dog, and training with their human counterparts. You see Black folks meeting, making small communities in, these non-privatized spaces with other working class white folks. And in those spaces, I feel like that was freedom. They experienced a glimpse of freedom. And until we can get to a space where we can live subsistence lifestyles, and if we choose to, without fear of being called illegal, being called trespassing, being called loitering, being called any of these terms that would criminalize innocent people, we are not free as a society. The term freedom is, in my perspective, rendered useless until everyone feels safe and welcome on the land. Hey y'all, so I came inside to record story number 2, a more personal story that touches on public land access and safety. I also wanted to get my hair twisted, so it's a little later, but here's my second story. 2 years ago, I went on my first spring turkey hunt with a good friend. I'll call him D in this story. I should mention now that we didn't kill a turkey. We didn't even see a turkey. Like all of my hunts that year, I saw plenty of mule deer does and mostly just enjoyed hours of sitting in silence, immersed in the sounds and movements of the forest. Now, while bringing home a big old turkey would have been ideal, the experience on this small patch of public land changed my life. On our first day, we bushwhacked and side-hilled, sat at a watering hole, bushwhacked some more, scared countless coveys of quail, and ended up hiking a few miles back up to our base camp in the dark. My bargain hardware store headlamp could barely light up a foot in front of me. So we got back to our base camp, beat to shit, cold, but our adrenaline's pumping, so we're feeling good. Despite the fact that we'd seen a burnt down RV trailer out there in the middle of nowhere, which was kind of creepy, and this nagging feeling that a mountain lion was stalking us the whole time, we slept like babies. Even with the wind howling and whipping my tent, the space between my ears was fully at peace, which is a very rare thing. I woke up early while my buddy slept in, I quickly glassed up some muley does, and about an hour later, went back up the hill to wake him up. He came down to where I was sitting on a rock. It was like this rock ledge, and we just enjoyed watching these deer, taking turns using the binoculars, which turned these little brown specks into vivid images of deer. The fawns were playing, and their mom was harassing them. I think she even kicked one of them. She just wasn't having any of their shit that day. And we were learning these intimate details of deer behavior that they were just unthinkable to us before this moment of watching deer for hours. Soft voices began to echo in the canyon behind us, and as they grew louder, we got the impression that our deer parade was about to be rained on. We quickly packed up. I checked my pistol to make sure it was loaded, and we hiked back up to the top of the ridge to get eyes on whoever was approaching. To my surprise, there were 3 men, each with gigantic rolls of irrigation pipe on their heads, probably hundreds of yards each, without backpacks, boots, weapons, or even water bottles. These dudes were summiting the steepest, rockiest part of this mountain with ease. My buddy went up to them, spoke to them in Spanish, offered them water, asked what the hell they were doing carrying all this weight without water, and then they parted ways, chatting and laughing together, seemingly floating up the ridge as if nothing could be easier for them. Stark contrast to us just huffing and puffing our way up the day prior. So while they claimed to be helping a local rancher with an irrigation issue, siphoning water from the local creek, this small little creek, didn't really seem like it would be much help to ranchers, and probably illegal for a rancher to do. The type of piping they were using, it seemed that this was probably more likely being used for what in California is becoming quite popular as illegal marijuana growing operations. Illegal. These illegal growing operations are quite common, especially because the government's making millions of dollars off regulating the cannabis industry, which is, creating all these weird styles of black market. The black market before was just a much different scene. Simply put, ranchers and farmers use hundreds of millions of gallons of water a year, subsidized by us taxpayers, to make millions of dollars in the process. That's what turned what probably used to be this mighty river into a small babbling creek with barely enough water to hold some deer, maybe the occasional lost cow, and now possibly a weed farm. Squabbling over illegal use of this public resource misses, in my perspective, the bigger picture of this water issue. Also, my friend learned that these men were from Mexico, immigrants just trying to make some cash to survive. The truly American story, right? Yet they had no protection or assurances under U.S. laws as illegal immigrants. How dangerous it is to be a monolingual Spanish speaker engaging in potentially illegal activities. And who knows if they even had a clue they were doing anything illegal. With people like me carrying pistols, strolling about, I myself having a firearm on me, not because of mountain lions or Spanish-speaking brothers, but crazy white people who have a long history of doing terrible things to brown people in the woods. Access and safety on public lands are the most important things there are to be talking about, in my perspective. So let's talk about them.